Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting of Wednesday, January 7th, 2015. Can I have a roll call, please?
Salem Derby.
Present.
Dan Hagan.
Present.
Jennifer Hayes.
Here.
J.P. Grzinski. Joe McCoy.
Here.
Dan Rist.
Here.
Tamara Smith. Here. Joy Winnie.
Here.
Nathan Ziegler.
Present.
Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a motion for the approval of the minutes of
So
December
moved.
17th.
Second.
Motion a second approval of the minutes of December 17th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I assume JP's not here, but abstained. Public speak time. If there's anyone here from the public who would like to address the council for something other than what's on the public hearing, please come to the podium. Not seeing any of that. I would like to make one announcement. The council decided the July meeting was, I believe, was on the 3rd. It was very close to the 4th, and so we have rescheduled our July meeting to Tuesday, July 8th. Wednesday, July 8th is when the meeting will be, 2015 meeting in July will be. So that will be printed, so you'll have plenty of opportunity to know that's the meeting. Additional correspondence, Councilor Rist.
We received, Mr. President, a copy of a letter by the building commissioner sent to Mr. Gall, who owns the Hurry Scurry building. Apparently there were some complaints about unsafe structures at that location, and that it is being dealt with through the building commissioner. Don't know if Councilor Hayes wants to add anything to that, because you had to do with it. But
No, that's fine. We made the inquiry to make sure that it was getting taken care of, and now that we can just follow up on, I believe they're supposed to be compliant by the 15th of February. So we can just make a note to double check that that's happening.
Thank you. Secondly, I wanted to let all the councilors know who don't know that Councilor Grzinski has had surgery today, and we wish him well as a council. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mayor Communications, Mayor Cadger.
Happy New Year. So I'd just like to update you on just a few things that have been happening. First of all, I think you'll all remember when we were talking about the microburst and getting reimbursed. Well, I got some good news from the department, the Office of Administration and Finance. They actually contacted me and told me that it had gone through, so what I had to do is actually apply for it as if it was a type of a grant, which made it a little different because obviously they want to know what we're going to use the money for. We already used it, so no problem. They were the office was great to work with, and so I submitted it, a total of $22,399, and they said no problem. We'll receive it electronically probably in about 4 to 6 weeks. So that's a little exciting there. I'm sure you've already probably heard enough about Code Red, but if you haven't, that's something that we've been waiting for about a year. So it actually, we were trained on it. There's 7 of us that can administer it. I was one of the 7, and before we actually really got to get the word out there in a different way, we actually, our police department used it for a parking ban. So nothing has changed other than the way that, you know, we get the information out. Instead of people needing to be home to watch the press release on their television, you know, you'll get a call, and we're hoping that people will sign up on their cell phones or for texts, however. So, and we've put the Code Red right on our website. It's on, you know, my mayor's Facebook page, but we put it right on the website, easy to hop on and sign up for. So we're hoping everybody will sign up for it. Can sign up for whatever you want, all the messages, just emergency messages, you know, just your home phone, just text, whatever way you want to do it. So we're thinking this is a great way to get the word out immediately. So talking about microbursts, it would have been good to have it then. Mm-hmm. So if anyone has any questions, don't hesitate on that. And there are people that might, oh, I'm sorry.
There's somebody's having trouble signing up. Who should they contact?
Yeah, there were some problems at the beginning. I was just going to say that, and it's like to a contact would be the 527-1212, which is the main number to dispatch, and it would be Mr. Paquin. So, but I think we've pretty much been fixing those bugs. We've been dealing with, with the administrators on it. So I'm hoping that pretty much that should be fixed up, and that's why so it should be good. You should be able to just hop right on our website, easthampton.org, and get right on it.
Yeah, I had no problem
I am
signing up,
aware of
but-
that, but thanks, Jen, for bringing that up. That's something I did want to mention. So try it again, and if you're having any problems, just call dispatch, and they'll put you right, I could not think of Rick Paquin. Okay. That being said, some more good news from the fire department. This is just a little good news night. Yes. Actually, it was one of the retired firefighters that was instrumental, found a grant for a CPR device. Now, this is a $15,000 CPR device. So we actually received the grant, received the funds, and the device we have now they actually use straps on it, and the straps, each time you use it, you have to put new straps. The straps are $400 a piece. So this is great. This doesn't have any straps. It actually has a way where you sanitize it and use it again. So we're really excited about this, and I told the chief I would definitely mention that tonight. And I think that's it for a couple of quick updates. If anybody has any questions.
Any additional questions? No? Great. Thank you very much. So we can move on to standing committees, rules and government relations. Councilor Rist.
No report this evening, Mr. President.
Finance, Councilor Hagan.
Yeah, we have two public hearings tonight involving finance. One is for a $13,000 shortfall in the street utility bill, and the other is the request from the Easthampton Retirement Board to increase their COLA, and those will be taken up after 6:15. And then I believe there's one new item. Our next, that'll be at new business. Which I can take
What do you
care
do
of.
right now?
Okay. I'll do a first reading. I believe there's two. The first is a the first is the supplemental appropriation. I'll do a first reading dated December 29th, 2014. The request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. The amount requested is $400,000, and is to be appropriated from the CPA open space in the amount of $52,800.52 in the CPA undesignated fund of $347,199.48 and appropriated to the Manhan Rail Trail Coordinator Improvement. The amount requested to be used for the following purpose: to fund improvements for the Manhan Rail Trail corridor. This is a request coming out of the CPA committee. The second new business, and I'll make a motion to move both of them to finance, is a dated December 30th, 2014. It's an interdepartmental transfer. The amount requested is $8,000 to be transferred from the reserve fund, and that amount, $8,000, and transferred to the following: Fire Department Building and Equipment, $500. Fire Department Radio, Telephone, and Other Communications, $1,000. Fire Department Repairs to Vehicle, is $3,000. Let me go back, because I put them in the wrong line. Going back, they're going to be transferred to the following: $500 to the Fire Department Building and Equipment, $1,000 to the Fire Department Radio, Telephone, and Other Communications, $3,000 to the Fire Department Repairs to Vehicles, and $3,500 to the Ambulance Repairs to Vehicles. And the amounts requested be used for the following purpose: to fund unanticipated expenditures in the fire and ambulance departments. Having said, I'd make a motion that the interdepartmental transfer and the supplemental appropriation be sent to finance for review.
Second.
A motion is second to move the previously read supplemental appropriation and interdepartmental transfer to finance. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
And then one other item, if I could, I'd like to set a public hearing on the one other item we have on our supplemental appropriation of $17,500. I'd like to set a public hearing on that matter for our next council meeting, which I believe is January 21st, 15. And our next meeting, I'll have to make that in the form of a motion that we set a
Second.
public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to set the public hearing on the appropriation of $17,000 on January 21st, 2015. Any additional discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes.
In our next subcommittee meeting, we'll meet next Wednesday, which is the 14th at 6 p.m. in room 1. That
Okay.
concludes finance.
Thank you. Public Safety, Counselor Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next subcommittee meeting for public safety will be next week, date to be determined. And that's where we will be reviewing, continued reviewance of the street acceptance, Hall Street extension, and a review of the street acceptance protocol. And we also have a public hearing tonight to amend the traffic rules and orders for the new all-night parking signs. This concludes.
Okay, thank you. Appointments, Counselor Winnie.
Yes, thank you. We met tonight and we reviewed 2 appointments from the mayor, and both were discussed, and motion was made and seconded to bring forth the 2 appointments to the city council for their approval. So I'm going to make this in the form of a motion that the city council, pursuant to section 3.3 of the city charter, recommend for appointment the following: Tom Raffensperger for PLAE Board of Directors with his expiration date of December 31st, 2017, and Maureen Bellevue of the Development and Industrial Committee, also December 31st, 2017. Both were put forth with a firm 2-0 in the affirmative.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second for the approval of mayoral appointments of Tom Raffensperger and Maureen Bellevue. Any additional comments, discussion? Councilor Winnie?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a short comment that I was very excited to see Maureen, AKA Mo's name come across for the Development and Industrial Committee. She is our new executive director of the Greater Easthampton Chamber, and if you have not had the pleasure of meeting her, I suggest if you have a moment or two to stop in there and meet her. She's very bubbly and very enthusiastic, and I think that she's going to be a really good addition to the chamber.
Okay, great. Additional comments? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion passes.
Moving on to new business, we have another appointment from the mayor, and I would like to make the motion that we move the appointment for Francis Hamill to the appointment subcommittee.
Second.
Okay, a motion, a second to move the appointment of Francis Hamill to the ZB Zoning Board of Appeals Associate Member to appointments. Any additional comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion passes.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be on January 21st, 5:30 in the downstairs conference room B, please.
Okay, thank you.
That ends my report. Thank you.
Ordinance, Councilor Derby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday, January 13th at 6 p.m. And that concludes.
Okay,
Conference room 1.
What?
Yep.
and is it, do you know, is it going to be on the signs yet, or what we could be talking about?
It's going to be everything that we have on our agenda.
Okay, okay, great. Okay, sounds great. Does that conclude?
Concludes.
Okay, Councilor Ziegler, property.
No report this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay. Well, someone. Oh, perfect. Councilor Mayor,
You gotta use up 2 minutes.
Exactly.
I got so excited with all these little updates, I forgot one of them. We also were successful, I know everybody's aware of the Loudville, West Street, Glendale, Pomeroy Meadow intersection, that's completed. Well, in dealing with the state and the federal government, we were successful in being able to obtain 2 signs, the solar LED signs that light up, and they're $5,000 apiece at no charge to us. So we just heard from Mass DOT this week that they received permission to grant us those, and they'll be putting them in when the ground thaws. So
Are these stop signs? or-
yes,
Okay.
the stop signs. Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually, never mind, I would take credit for that because I told the engineer about the ones in Southampton. I love
Right, we all compared them to the ones in Southampton, the 4-way signs, but we love them. But the fact that, I mean, that's $10,000.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were successful in getting them, our police department worked with the Mass DOT, and the chief called me to let me know, and also we were working with, they needed federal approval on that. So we were going, we were looking at doing them anyway, so our DPW was researching prices, and, it was something that we intended to do anyway, but this is definitely the way to do them. So, thank you.
for the information. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to open public hearings.
So moved.
Motion and second, public hearings. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion passes. I believe we start off with finance, Councilor Hagan.
Our first public hearing tonight is an interdepartmental transfer, and I'll do a second reading on this item. The item is dated November 26, 2014, and the amount requested is $13,000, and is to be transferred from the reserve fund, and that amount, $13,000, and transferred to Streetlights Energy for Light. The amount requested be used for the following purpose: in order to fund an anticipated shortfall in the streetlight utility bill. I know the mayor will probably want to come up and speak to this, but in short, I believe this is an item with all the fancy language mainly for streetlight repair. There's a lot of streetlights that have needed repair, and they didn't have the funds, and the mayor, I believe, turned back some money last year because, not that she didn't want to do them, it was not able to get a contractor. And this is kind of putting it back in to continue the repairs, but I'll let the mayor.
That's exactly correct, and of course, I can't wait to tell you that last year, this is one of my budgets, and last year we turned back in $16,000. It's always great to turn back money, into the city at the end of the year, which, as you know, goes into free cash, but we've been making it a priority to, as you know, to maintain our vehicles, our buildings, our street lights, and, getting these lights back on. Some of these lights had been off for 2 years because it wasn't a matter of just the sensor, or a lot of them are the underground wiring, where they actually had to go out, dig them up, repair the wiring. So it's an expensive thing to do. I was hoping to definitely have that done last year, but what we're doing this year is a lot of catch-up for things that hadn't been done in the past. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the council concerning that appropriation? Please feel free to come to the podium, state your name. Okay, that's it. Councilor Hagan.
If there's no other questions by the councilors, I'll make the following motion: that the Easthampton City Council approve the following interdepartmental transfer in the amount of $13,000 from the reserve fund to the Streetlights Energy for Light Fund, in that amount, $13,000, and it be used for the purpose of in the anticipated shortfall in the streetlight utility budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the departmental transfer of the $13,000. Any additional questions or comments for the finance department? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes. Well, why don't you continue on, since you're doing C, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you don't mind,
Nope.
just continue on.
This one may be a little more lengthy. This doesn't require a second reading. What the C on the public hearing tonight is a request by the Easthampton Contributory Retirement Board to increase the COLA base. Currently, anyone in the city who is retired and has a pension of $12,000 or greater receives a COLA based on that, no more than the $12,000. And what the retirement board in this proposal wants is to take that $12,000 and move it up to $14,000. So if, just as an example, if someone was making a $10,000 pension, it's going to have no effect on them. They will still get the COLA just on the $10,000. If someone's making $20,000, the COLA would be, instead of on their first 12, it would be on their first 14, no matter how much above that you made. I know it's a little bit, we went through several meetings on this, and I know the finance director has been very good, the mayor, and I also know Tina Schneider from the administrator is here, and I probably would ask Tina maybe to come forward and at least explain, because it's a request that comes out of the board. They have voted unanimously for this, and just to kind of give an overview of what the thinking of the board was.
Well, actually, it's been 17 to 18 years since they've last had an increase on their COLA base. In 1997, it went from $9,000 to $12,000. So based on that, it really isn't keeping up with any type of inflation costs, and they are only getting the maximum of $360 a year as a COLA if it's at a 3%. Typically, we are granting a 3% COLA. Obviously, it's only on the first $12,000. And again, like he said, it is, if you're making less than $12,000, you're only getting 3% on what you're earning or what you're making. And we thought that back in 2010 that we tried to increase it, and at that point the economy wasn't doing very well at all. Not that it's doing spectacular right now, but our assets have done a lot better in the last few years. And as you can see by the actuarial that we had done recently, we are about 70% funded, and I think back in 2010 we were probably 58% funded. We just, as a board, we think that it's the right thing to do for them. They don't get, like Social Security, when they get an increase, they get it on the total amount of their benefit, not on just a base amount. I did have some handouts, and I'm not sure if you've got them on. I'm hoping so. And I tried to explain a little bit of what the actuarial is and how they take a look at things, and how many of our retirees are under the $12,000 mark and how many are over. I don't know what else you'd like to know.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to kind of give an overview for the board. Just as a aside, this would be the maximum anyone would get. If they got the maximum COLA, which I believe is 3%, it would be $60 per retiree that qualifies. Is that correct?
It would be,
Or
the maximum would be $420 per year.
Right.
So it would
As opposed to
increase-
right now, $360.
It's $360, so it's $30 a month.
$30 a month more. Any other questions?
Yeah, any additional questions? Councilor Rist?
Well, any questions? I just wanted to explain to the council why this was so difficult. You would think on the surface that a $60 a year increase and $420 is very simple. We should vote it right in. Why was it so hard to consider this? Well, what I've learned is a great deal. Thank you to the Finance Director Zawadzki and Tina and everybody on it. I've learned about unfunded liabilities and what the scary part of this is, which is why it was difficult for me and difficult, I'm sure, for Councilor Hagan, although he's been in the system longer and I think he understood it better. Unfunded liabilities, from my point of view, is our promise to these retirees that we will fund their retirement in perpetuity. I can't say the word. In perpetuity, whatever that is, forever. And our actuarials are taken out, I think it's to 2028, and please, somebody correct me if I give out wrong figures. The first year's unfunded liability that would seem, this is a very low normal cost, jumps to something like $593,000 increase in our unfunded liability, and over time, almost $1 million. When you hear about Detroit's bankruptcy and you hear about all the pension plans in New England and other places being difficult for cities and towns to deal with, that's the scary part. So you've gotten a lot of information tonight, and the reason there's a lot of information is because this is a complicated issue from that point of view. Can we afford it? That was a big question that's difficult to answer, and I understand why now, because actuarials, and I'm sure Tina you'll correct me, are really a very educated guess on what will happen, and they're redone every 2 years over the life of this plan. They deal with our investments, which aren't just stocks, but all of our investments and how that retirement plan is returning. And our return is very conservative, which I thought, good, that's good. It's gone down to, I think, 7.75%.
It's 7.75, that's what we expect.
Which is conservative. This year, I think we did 11.8 or something like that in return, which is good. Our unfunded liability was, in 2012, was something like 58%, something like that. Now it's up to 70% funded, which is very good. So these things led me, along with a lot of other understanding, to vote in favor of it because our position is better. But we need to understand, this is a major increase in unfunded liability, which is why cities and towns, if you look at, there's a spreadsheet in there about other cities and towns and how some of them are still low at 10,000, some are up to 16 even. I think the teachers, which is a separate retirement plan, are at 13,000 COLA base. All of that is because the unfunded liability portion of this discussion is the scary part. So I'm glad that Councilor Hagan and I decided, and the Finance Committee decided to let the council look at this for another meeting. And you may gather questions, which we'll do the best to answer, but I believe it is the right thing to do. These retirees, it may not seem like much, but they need this extra money in their pocket. And I think, personally, it's very hard to tell. We can afford it. Our unfunded liability is doing well now. Would you also agree with that statement, that it's doing better?
It's doing much better than it was several years ago.
Okay.
And hopefully
That
it'll
could
keep doing
change,
better.
but-
It could change in 2 years, exactly, but hopefully it will change for the better.
Okay. That's my
Is there any other questions?
Any additional questions or comments? No, I don't see so. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you.
Mayor or Finance, do you want to, I think there's going to be a continuation of the public hearing, so there'll be an opportunity probably the next meeting as well, so you can speak then, or if you'd like to say something now, either one of you.
No corrections. I said
No,
it.
you're all set. Okay.
Just a couple more comments to expand a little on what Councilor Riss said. Several members of the retirement board did attend the finance meetings, and they're well aware that we would probably have two meetings, because they thought it only fair that all the councilors get this. It would be unfair to have everyone get these spreadsheets and then make a decision tonight. So that was something that the employees were well aware of. Also, we did as a council, and Tina touched on it, but I want to make it clear that they did come to us back in 2011 for an increase, and the council turned them down. So this has been turned down, and thing. But both myself, Councilor Kwasinski was not able to attend that evening, but Councilor Rist and I both voted in favor this year of the increasing the matter. Right now, I believe, and again, as everyone has said, actuarials change every 2 years, but, and the figures could change, but right now, the city is scheduled to pay off their unfunded liability by 2028, and we are making progress at a little faster rate. Hopefully that continues. But with that in mind, I guess we can open up to any other members of the public if there's other comments, and then we can maybe continue it till the next.
If anyone would like to comment, again, it looks like we'll the continuation of this public hearing, so you'll have another opportunity, but if you would like to speak tonight about it, please feel free to come to the podium. Okay, I guess not. So, Councilor Hagan.
I guess I'll make a motion that we continue this public hearing to our next meeting of January 14th, no, it's going to be 21st at 6:15 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue the public hearing on this retirement board unfunded liability till the January 21st, 6:15 p.m. in these chambers. Any additional comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Motion passes. I guess we're on to Public Safety, Councilor Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. President. So on November 12th, we received a letter from the city planner and from the Department of Public Works regarding putting up some street signs in the public parking spaces, public parking lots that we have downtown. And when they were ordering the signs, they realized that there was some confusion in our standing parking laws that happen downtown and then our parking laws that happen during a snow emergency. That it seemed to be kind of confusing and conflicting information. So they made a request that we simplify our parking rules and regulations for downtown. So we did meet with the chief of police, we met with the mayor, and everybody talked about it. And there were some concerns about whether or not we do allow overnight parking or not allow overnight parking. It was discovered that downtown we only have 1 hour parking anyway, but the police chief was really informative, and they don't really enforce the overnight parking unless there's specifically like a snow emergency or something going on. So, it did seem to us as a subcommittee that this seemed like a good idea, and it does help with the wording on the sign being shorter so that it will all fit. So I don't know if the mayor wanted to add anything to this, or...
Would the mayor, would anyone else want to comment on the no parking?
You don't have to.
I can just, say that I think you spent a lot of time researching it, talking with the DPW, my office, the chief, and, received a lot of input into it, and had a meeting on it, subcommittee meetings on it. So I think you pretty much really well-researched the issue.
Thank you.
And before you make a motion, what is the change going to say? I mean, you don't have to do this as sort of a motion right now, but what are the changes?
We're changing it from being like no all-night parking to, it would be between 5 and 7 a.m. that your car can't be in the public lots. And the public lots are the ones here at Payson, and then the Cottage Street lot.
Okay.
So the signs will be there.
And then, I know this has come up before. Involves the school lots too? I mean, I know we were talking about how many.
We were trying to get a definition of
promenade, all that kind
exactly
stuff.
what the public lots were, and there was a lot of back and forth on that. We now believe that it is Payson, that it is Cottage Street, and that it is the Millside lot over behind Pleasant Street. There are a couple of public spots at 30. There are a couple
Both
of public
places.
spots at the fire department as well,
Right.
public safety.
I mean, I think this conversation had come up before with the chief of police is, there's not like a perfect scenario, because I know we had talked about if someone had imbibed too much, is it safe to make them feel they have to move their car? But at the same point, the chief of police was making the point that they've had places it's a place to abandon your car if you can do that. And so I think I'm kind of trusting the police in the situation where they tend to turn a blind eye if there's not an emergency.
Precisely. There were two imaginary scenarios that we created, and it's like what happens more often. But after speaking with the police chief, I feel, confident that it wouldn't be enforced, arbitrarily. Somebody's not going to walk through and say, hey, that's my, ex-boyfriend's car, and take it off. So
Okay.
it seems like it's going to be good. But it did give us an opportunity to kind of look at what we have for traffic and parking laws for downtown and Easthampton in general, and we're probably going to have to just look at the whole scenario, because it's been built up over time, and it's probably time to do like kind of an overview and make something that makes sense for the community.
Okay, great. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to address the council concerning this topic? No, not being saying. So I will entertain a motion then, Councilor Hayes.
I move to amend Appendix A, Traffic Rules and Orders, Section 1-30B, no all-night parking, to read, "It shall be unlawful for the driver of any vehicle to park said vehicle in public parking lots between the hours of 5 a.m. and 7 a.m."
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to amend City Ordinances Appendix A, Traffic Rules and Orders, Section 1-30B. And additional comments, Councilor Rist?
I just wanted to compliment Councilor Hayes and the committee, especially in dealing with the possibility of a drunk driver feeling like, oh, the sign says I've got to move my car, and then moving it and something more serious happens. It seems contradictory that a drunk person would do that anyway, but I think giving this, that particularly affected me. I thought that was very well thought out, that would be a reason to move the time to the morning. And then if it's snowing and they get towed, at least they didn't drive it. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion, a second then, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Of the change? Aye, opposed, abstain, motion passes. Okay.
I move the public hearings be closed.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to close public hearings, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. We have no old business, and we've gone through our new business, so I'll entertain a motion to, sorry, Councilor Winnie.
I just want to send out my condolences, as I'm sure that the city council as a whole would like to Jay Fortier's family on his passing from the night before last. He was very instrumental in the basketball programs at Easthampton High School and the surrounding community. So,
Great, well, thank you for noting that. Yeah, that was a passing for us all. Okay, I believe there was a motion, a second on that, so all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? See you January 21st. Thank you.